Hi everyone, this is Tyler Constable, and welcome to the Systems and Check Selectors training videos. In my eyes, this is one of the most important topics throughout all of Avantra. This is how you can really make your life pretty easy by selecting multiple systems and essentially multiple checks and being able to use those over and over again, whether it's on dashboards or notifications or automation. So some really cool things here. If you can master this, you're going to be sitting good for a long time.
Check selectors and system selectors are a way to group systems or group checks. What this means is easy maintenance and configuration of your systems within Avantra. So if you've had a chance to review the parameter sets or checks training video, you'll notice that we could implement those parameter sets across multiple systems, and we could have used a system selector to do that. Or perhaps for notifications, you don't have to select every single notification for every single system. You can select, these are the 7 checks I want to be notified on instead of all 150. I just want these 7 things to be notified on, or I want the OS level checks to be grouped together, and then we can use that as a notification to go to the infrastructure team, and then the SAP checks can go to the basis team. All right, so you can kind of build out these system selectors and check selectors to really make your life a lot easier in all of the setup within Avantra. So first things first is we're going to build out a system selector. So to do so, we're going to go to our systems dropdown and select the system selectors. First things first, we're going to select the new button here, and you'll see there's quite a lot in this example, and you may have some out of the box as well. We're going to select the new button here, and let's just call this one non-production Linux checks, or non-production Linux systems, right? So maybe there are some, just as an example here, Linux OS parameters that we want to have a rule set that says, all right, if Avantra recognizes that there's an operating system coming in that is Linux and it's non-production, it's going to get a following set of rule sets, right, or parameter sets. So that essentially that first part of it is what we're building out here. So this is going to be, in this example, a server. So again, these are all of the different system types. So we're going to do server, and we'll select new. So this is our system selector build out pane. So I'm going to select this little checkbox here under the criteria, and you'll see a new set of things have opened up here. So I'm going to focus here just on this first drop down. And I'm going to say, all right, so the first things I need to do is go identify what we want to look at. So you see there's all kinds of things in here. We can say, all right, if it's this customer or these 3, if you're a managed service provider, if it's these 3 customers, they want this type of thing, right? But the one that we said is non-production and Linux. So we're going to go to system role, and we're going to select everything except for production. All right, so this is essentially all non-production. But we also have this one that says if it's Linux as well. So I can select and add another. And for this, I'm going to select OS type. Oh, looks like I actually don't have a Linux in this particular example here. I can just, what we'll do is we'll just add the Unix one for this example. Let's just call this Unix in our example up here. And we now have our thing that says, all right, if it's non-production and it's Unix. Now, if for any reason you accidentally select a group that you didn't mean to. So here, if this is, we didn't mean to select AWS, Azure, Google. The way to remove this is to use this little black box right over here to the right, and that will make that go away. Next, we want to select test selector here, and now you can actually see all of the systems that match this criteria. In this example here, if it's non-production and it's Unix based, you can see everything here. And again, the reason why we didn't have Linux here is just because in our system, our training system here, we only have Windows and Unix systems on here. Next, we'll just save and close. And that is it. That is a system selector. This is probably one of the most vital and important things to understand within Avantra, because we are going to be using these over and over again as we get into things like dashboards, and you want dashlets to be corresponding of a group of systems, or when we set up notifications, we only want notifications for certain types of systems. This is where it becomes very powerful, and you always want to make sure that we set up our system selectors in this area, because these can be used over and over again. That one that we just created for non-production Unix can be used for dashboards, parameter sets, notifications. It can be used over and over and over again, really making sure that the setup of Avantra is quick and easy. The second type of selector we're going to focus on in this session is a check selector. So to get there, we're going to go to the monitoring dropdown and select the More button. And here you'll see the check selectors. Now to create a new check selector, we'll select the New button up here. And first couple criteria on the screen here is, do we want it to be for real-time monitoring, daily checks, real-time and daily checks, or just the daily check details? If you're not familiar with what these are, please make sure you watch the training video on checks. It'll go a little bit more detail into these. So for this, I'm just going to select RTM checks, and I'm going to just say this is going to be some important basis checks. So maybe I want a grouping of these checks on dashboards, or maybe I'd like them to be set up for notifications. And I'm just going to set up new. So now you'll see our check selector. It's very, very similar to the system selector criteria. But for now, I'm just going to select a new set of rule patterns here. So maybe I have a check name, and in here there's a search box. So let's just grab a couple things that I feel like can be pretty important here. So I'm going to say the agent alive. Let's say our system alive. Perhaps IDOCs are very important to me. So I'm going to select IDOC. And let's just say short dumps as well. All right, so short dump stat. So let's just say that these are the four most important things for me. And obviously Avantra is looking at a lot of other checks, but for these four things, maybe I want to set up a notification. Maybe I want these on a dashboard, so on and so forth. Now again, I could keep going down. Maybe there's another status as well. So maybe if I say if it's these and it's in, and it's a check status of disabled, critical, or just critical, what have you, can kind of see that. You can kind of pick and choose. You can keep going and make these criteria as deep as you'd like. And for this example, I'm just going to keep it with just these four here. Now this is going to be spread across all systems. And now what's important about that is, when we get to the point of building out, the dashboard, and in the dashboard training video, maybe we want this to be wide open across all systems, because we can then further define which systems when we get to the dashboard or when we get into notifications. But there might be different scenarios where maybe you want to define that here. So you can actually add a system selector to the check selector. So here in the bottom half, you can see define systems to select, leave unchecked for all systems for all systems. So I'm going to select this. And now let's go back in and say, all right, so we want these four things just for my SAP production systems. So I'm going to select system role in this example and just select production. Maybe I don't necessarily want a text message or whatever I'm going to do with this check selector. Maybe I don't want for non-production, I just want for production. So now I can select my test selector. Here I can see all my systems and all the checks that this is associated with, and select save and close. So within just a few short minutes, we've defined system selectors and check selectors. We've discussed the purpose of them. We created an example system selector and created an example check selector.